The letter was written in blood, Amy's own blood, stolen from a medical waste bin at her rehab facility. "If I can't be you, nobody can have you," it read. When police finally caught the stalker on July 22, 2011, they found something in her apartment that made even seasoned detectives vomit. An exact replica of Amy's bedroom, with something terrifying lying in the bed. Her name was Rebecca Walsh, 24 years old, a music student from Manchester who'd been obsessed with Amy Winehouse since 2006. But this wasn't ordinary fan devotion. This was something far more sinister. Rebecca didn't just want to meet Amy, she wanted to become her, replace her. And when that proved impossible, she decided Amy had to die. The first signs appeared in 2009. Amy started receiving packages that seemed like fan gifts but were disturbingly personal. Her exact brand of birth control pills, used tissues with her DNA, strands of her actual hair woven into a bracelet. The sender knew things. What Amy ate for breakfast, what she whispered to Blake in bed, the songs she hummed in the shower that were never recorded. Someone was watching her every moment, documenting her entire existence. But here's what nobody knew. Rebecca had been living in Amy's walls for 3 months, and the recordings she made during that time would reveal Amy's darkest secrets. Rebecca was brilliant in the most terrifying way. She'd studied architecture, learned the blueprints of Amy's Camden home, and discovered something during the 1960s renovation: false spaces between walls, large enough for a small person to move through. In March 2011, while Amy was in rehab, Rebecca broke in and created her nest, a living space inside the walls where she could watch Amy through tiny holes she'd drilled. She had notebooks filled with observations. March 15, 3:47 a.m. Minnie. Amy cries in her sleep, calling for someone named Isabella. Who is Isabella? March 22, 2:15 p.m. Amy practices a song about dying young. She seems peaceful when she sings it. April 3, 11:30 p.m. Blake visits. They fight. Amy throws a glass. I kept the shards that have her blood. The recordings Rebecca made were extensive. Hours of Amy talking to herself, revealing things she'd never told anyone. Amy would sometimes sense something was off, asking the empty room, "Is someone there?" Rebecca would hold her breath, staying perfectly still, her eye pressed against the peephole, watching Amy search the house with paranoid fear. These moments excited Rebecca most, when Amy could feel her presence but couldn't find her. Rebecca had sewn herself clothes from fabric she'd stolen from Amy's wardrobe, cutting small pieces from multiple items so they wouldn't be missed. She'd learned to do her makeup exactly like Amy's, practiced her voice until she could mimic it perfectly. At night, when Amy was passed out, Rebecca would sometimes emerge from the walls and stand over Amy's bed, pretending to be her reflection. Wait until you hear what Rebecca did at Amy's concerts, and how she managed to get on stage without anyone noticing. Rebecca had infiltrated Amy's inner circle by becoming multiple people. She was Sarah, the sweet fan who always brought flowers; Emma, the backup singer who auditioned but didn't make it; Claire, the journalist who never quite got her interview. Each identity had different hair, different clothes, but the same obsessive eyes that photographer friends later recognized in photos from Amy's final performances. At the Belgrade concert, Amy's disastrous final show, Rebecca was there, but not in the audience. She'd managed to convince a stagehand she was Amy's new assistant, wearing Amy's stolen clothes and perfected makeup. She walked on stage during the chaos, standing behind Amy, mimicking her movements like a shadow. For 3 songs there were essentially 2 Amys on stage, but everyone was too focused on Amy's breakdown to notice the duplicate. The footage, when enhanced later, is chilling. Rebecca is visible in the background, moving in perfect synchronization with Amy, her mouth forming the same words, her hands making identical gestures. At one point, when Amy stumbled, Rebecca reached out as if to catch her but pulled back, letting her fall. The look on Rebecca's face at that moment, disappointment mixed with satisfaction, would later become key evidence. But the most shocking part was when Blake discovered Rebecca in bed with him, and she'd convinced him she was Amy. It happened in May 2011. Blake, high and desperate to see Amy, broke into her house at 4 a.m. He found who he thought was Amy in bed, beehive messy, back turned to him. He slipped in beside her, whispering apologies, and fell asleep. When he woke at dawn, the woman turned around. It was Rebecca, smiling with Amy's exact smile, wearing Amy's face like a mask. Blake's scream woke the entire neighborhood. Rebecca just laughed, speaking in Amy's voice. "What's wrong, baby? Don't you recognize me?" She'd studied hours of footage to perfect Amy's mannerisms, her vocal patterns, even the way she breathed, for a terrifying moment. Blake actually doubted himself. Was this Amy having a breakdown? The resemblance was uncanny. Rebecca fled through the window, but not before leaving Blake a note. "She doesn't deserve you. I could love you better. I could be her, but better." Blake was so traumatized, he didn't tell anyone for weeks, convinced people would think he was having drug-induced hallucinations. When he finally told Amy, she didn't believe him at first. Then they found Rebecca's nest in the walls, and everything changed. You won't believe what police found in Rebecca's apartment. She'd been building something that still gives investigators nightmares. When police raided Rebecca's Manchester flat on July 20th, 2011, they walked into a perfect recreation of Amy's Camden home. Every detail was exact. The wallpaper, the furniture placement, even stains on the carpet matched. But in the bedroom, lying in a bed identical to Amy's, was a life-size doll made from Amy's stolen hair, dressed in Amy's stolen clothes, with a face sculpted to match Amy's exactly. The doll was built on a medical skeleton Rebecca had stolen from her university. She'd been collecting Amy's DNA for years, hair from salons, blood from medical facilities, even teeth Amy had pulled. The doll's teeth were Amy's actual teeth. Its eyes were glass orbs painted to match Amy's exact shade. Around its neck was a necklace made from Amy's guitar strings twisted into a noose. But the most disturbing discovery was the journal titled "Becoming Amy: The Transition." Rebecca had planned to kill Amy and take her place, believing she could fool everyone. She'd studied Amy's friends, family, even her drug dealers. She knew their routines, their passwords, their secrets. The final entry, dated July 21st, 2011, read, "Tomorrow, the transformation completes. One Amy dies, the better Amy lives." But then something unexpected happened when Amy confronted Rebecca face-to-face in a meeting nobody knew about. On July 21st, 2011, 2 days before Amy's death, Rebecca sent Amy a message: "Meet me at Regent's Park, midnight, where I release the recordings of you talking about Isabella." Amy, terrified about her secret being exposed, went alone, telling no one. She found Rebecca at their designated spot, dressed exactly like Amy, makeup perfect, even wearing the same perfume. "I know you better than you know yourself," Rebecca said, speaking in Amy's own voice. "I've lived your life from inside your walls. I felt your pain, cried your tears, sung your songs. But I could do it better. I wouldn't destroy the gift like you have." Amy, for once completely sober, stared at her doppelganger in horror. Rebecca pulled out a knife, not to hurt Amy, but to cut her own arm, matching a scar Amy had. "See, we're already the same. Just let go, Amy. Let me take over. You want to die anyway. I've heard you say it 100 times. Give me your life, and I'll live it right." Amy's response shocked Rebecca. "You can have it. This life is hell, but you're not me, and you'll never be me, because you don't have the pain that makes the music real." The conversation lasted 2 hours. Amy actually felt sympathy for Rebecca, recognizing the same desperate need for love that drove her own destruction. "You don't want to be me," Amy said finally. "You want to be someone who matters. So be yourself, and matter." Rebecca broke down crying, the first genuine emotion she'd shown in years. The next morning, Amy did something that nobody understood until after her death. On July 22nd, Amy went to her lawyer and added a bizarre clause to her will. "In the event of my death, any person claiming to be me or claiming to have my consciousness, should be given access to recording 727. Nobody knew what recording 727 was, until Rebecca was arrested and mentioned it during interrogation. Recording 727 was Amy's message to Rebecca, made that morning. Rebecca, if you're listening to this, I'm gone, and you might think you've won, but you haven't. You can wear my clothes, copy my voice, live in my house, but you'll never have what made me Amy, the specific pain of my exact life. The music came from that pain. Without it, you're just a cover band. Amy continued, I'm leaving you something in my will, not money, but permission. Permission to stop trying to be me and start being yourself. You're talented. I heard you singing along through the walls. You have your own voice. Use it. Write your own pain. Create your own music. Stop living in my shadow and step into your own light. Amy also revealed she'd been aware of Rebecca for months, but hadn't called police. I understood the obsession, Amy admitted. I've been obsessed too. With Blake, with music, with death. You're sick like I'm sick, just differently. Get help. There's a treatment center in Scotland that specializes in identity disorders. I've paid for a year. It's my final gift to my darkest fan. What happened on July 23, 2011, the day Amy died, reveals a twist nobody saw coming. Rebecca was in police custody when Amy died, having been arrested the night before after the park meeting. Amy had finally called the authorities, but asked them to wait until July 22 to arrest Rebecca, giving her one last day of freedom. When Rebecca heard about Amy's death in her cell, witnesses say she screamed for 3 straight hours, tearing at her own face, trying to remove the makeup that made her look like Amy. But here's what investigators discovered later. Rebecca had an alibi for July 23, but her journal revealed something chilling. She'd been poisoning Amy slowly for months, not to kill her but to weaken her, make her more vulnerable to alcohol. She'd been adding substances to Amy's drinks through a hidden opening in the kitchen wall, carefully measured doses that would amplify alcohol's effects. The toxicology report, that was never made public, showed traces of these substances. They wouldn't have killed Amy alone, but combined with alcohol, they made each drink 3 times more deadly. Rebecca had been playing a long game. If she couldn't become Amy, she'd help Amy destroy herself faster. Every drink you took was a dance with me. Rebecca had written, I was your invisible drinking partner. When confronted with this evidence, Rebecca confessed to everything except intentional murder. I just wanted her to need me, she said. If she was weak enough, maybe she'd let me help her, be close to her. The prosecutors believed she'd accelerated Amy's death by at least 6 months, maybe more. But proving it in court was impossible. Too many variables, too much reasonable doubt. Rebecca Walsh was sentenced to 15 years for stalking, breaking and entering, theft, and attempted identity theft. But during her psychological evaluation, doctors discovered something that changes the entire narrative. Rebecca had been Amy's fan since age 13, when her own mother died. She'd latched onto Amy as a replacement figure. But the obsession mutated when Rebecca developed dissociative identity disorder. One of Rebecca's personalities genuinely believed she was Amy Winehouse. Brain scans showed that when Rebecca became Amy, her neural patterns actually changed, mimicking patterns seen in Amy's own medical scans that Rebecca had somehow obtained. She wasn't just pretending to be Amy, part of her brain literally thought it was Amy. The psychological reports called it the most complete case of identity assumption ever documented. In prison, Rebecca began writing music, her own music, for the first time. The songs were haunting, brilliant, and entirely original. Music producers who heard the demos said they were reminiscent of Amy's style, but with their own unique pain. Rebecca's album, recorded in prison, was titled Shadow Singer. Every track was an apology to Amy, a confession of obsession, a goodbye to the person she'd tried to become. The most chilling discovery came after Rebecca's release in 2020. Investigators found she'd had an accomplice, someone inside Amy's medical team who'd been feeding her information, providing access, helping her steal DNA samples. This person was never identified, meaning someone in Amy's inner circle had been betraying her all along, contributing to her paranoia and destruction. Today, Rebecca Walsh lives under a new identity, legally forbidden from coming within 500 miles of any Winehouse family member. She's a music teacher now, helping troubled teens find their own voices. She keeps one photo of Amy in her apartment, not as an obsession, but as a reminder of what happens when you lose yourself trying to be someone else. In therapy sessions, recorded as part of her treatment, Rebecca revealed the full extent of her surveillance. She documented over 3,000 hours of Amy's private moments, creating the most complete record of the singer's final months. These recordings were sealed by court order, but their existence proves that Amy's paranoia about being watched was completely justified. Blake Fielder Civil, when interviewed about Rebecca, said Amy always felt like someone was watching her. We thought it was the drugs making her paranoid. But she was right. Someone was always there, in the walls, in the shadows. It explains why she could never relax, never feel safe. She was being hunted by someone who loved her so much. It became hate. The Camden house where Amy lived was demolished in 2015, after the new owners discovered more of Rebecca's modifications, hidden cameras, recording devices, even DNA collection systems built into the plumbing. The walls contained thousands of photographs of Amy taken from inside the house, creating a disturbing chronicle of her deterioration. Some photos showed Amy looking directly at the camera, as if she knew she was being watched. Amy's mother Janice said before her death, "Amy once told me she felt like she was living someone else's life, like someone was pulling her strings. We thought it was metaphorical. Now I wonder if she somehow sensed Rebecca's presence, if that constant invasion contributed to her need to escape through drugs and alcohol." The final twist came in 2021, when Rebecca gave her only interview. "I didn't kill Amy Winehouse. Amy killed Amy Winehouse. I just documented it. But yes, I pushed her. Every stolen moment, every invasion of privacy, every dose I slipped into her drinks, I pushed her toward the edge. I wanted to save her by becoming her. Instead, I became her death. I live with that every day." Rebecca also revealed one last secret on July 23, 2011. She claims she felt the exact moment Amy died. "It was like losing half my soul," she said. "I'd lived as her for so long I could feel her heartbeat across London. When it stopped, mine nearly did too. That's when I realized I hadn't been trying to become Amy. I'd been trying to keep her alive by living her life for her. I failed at both." The police found one final piece of evidence in Rebecca's apartment, a suicide note dated July 24, 2011, the day after Amy's death. Rebecca had planned to kill herself if Amy died, believing they were spiritually connected. She'd taken the pills but survived, found by her landlord. The note read, "Without Amy to become, I'm nobody, but maybe nobody is who I was always meant to be." Today, Camden locals still report strange incidents in the area where Amy's house stood. Some say they see two women who look identical walking together at night. One leading, one following, both with beehives and ballet shoes, both humming Back to Black in perfect harmony. Whether it's urban legend or something more, one thing is certain: Amy Winehouse's final years were haunted by more than just her own demons. The real tragedy is that Amy died believing she was losing her mind, seeing shadows that weren't there, hearing voices in the walls. But everything she experienced was real. Rebecca Walsh was real. The poisoning was real. The invasion was real. Amy Winehouse didn't die of paranoia. She died despite being absolutely right about everything she feared.